your brain, you're in the nerds domain. Come on in, it's about to begin.
Okay, hi everybody, I'm Cheston and welcome to Nerds Domain Podcast. This week we're at GenCon recording live from the exhibit hall, so please forgive our audio quality. I'm here interviewing Isaac Vega with Plaid Hat Games and about their game, BioShock Infinite and City of Remnants.
Hello guys.
So, BioShock Infinite. How did you go about coming up with the idea?
Well, what was really nice is that we were actually approached as a company by the people that created BioShock, Irrational Studios. They went and told us, "Hey, we want a board game version of our video game." And we were like, "Oh my gosh, that is amazing!" So Colby came to me and all of his designers and said, "Everybody, get working on this. I want you guys to compete against each other to see who can design the best version of the BioShock game." So we all competed against each other, and we all brought something to the table, and each of them were pretty terrible. They did not go for the feel that we wanted. So what ended up happening is that we kind of put our brains together, tried to come up with a game collectively, and we thought it was the greatest thing on earth. It was so, when we were talking about it, we were having such a good time coming up with the different mechanics and all that kind of stuff. So Kobe gave me the task of putting it to prototype. And when we actually did, it wasn't the greatest thing on earth. It ended up that we went a few plays, we kept playing it, but it just wasn't working right.
Yeah.
So Kobe decided, hey guys, we're going to go ahead and pitch this version that we're collectively working on. I think the best thing to do at this point is to go ahead and just try to design the game separately. So I came back with him a week later. I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do everything I've always wanted to do. I'm just going to take all the limitations and stuff that I was trying to stay within and just go crazy. Yeah. And I came back with the latest version, which eventually became what we released, BioShock Infinite, The Siege of Columbia.
Okay.
So I had a really great time designing. It was awesome to go to Irrational Studios and get to meet Ken Levine, the creator of BioShock. And we got to play the game early before it was released, and we got lots of information from them. They were very, very kind staff, and they enjoyed what we brought to the table. So we were working on all of that as we were communicating with them, and I was developing the game further and further. So it was a great experience. I loved working on it.
Nice. Can you tell me a little bit about the game?
BioShock, what you're doing is that you're actually playing as the founders in the Vox Populi. If you know anything about the actual video game, they are the villains in the video game. Normally in the video game you're playing as Booker DeWitt, and you have Elizabeth as your partner in the game. So in this, we kind of switched tables. What you're doing is you're trying to gain 10 victory points, and there's two different ways that you can gain victory points. You can take over the different islands, the floating cities in Colombia, or you can go ahead and gain victory point cards, which come out at the end of each round. Okay? So you're doing this in various ways. You're going to be gaining action cards at the beginning of each of your turns, getting 5 action cards that have different decisions to make on each one. They have attack values, they have influence values, they have silver eagle values, and they also have abilities. So the game is a lot about how do I manage my hands? I have these 5 cards which represent my actions during the turn, and what do I use them for? Do I use them for influence to try to affect world events that are going to be coming out? Do I use them to attack other players? Or do I use them to produce more silver eagles so I can purchase more units to place on the board? So you're going to be moving your units around. We also have a sky rail mechanic to try to we try to put that in the game. Just like you're playing in the video game, you're rolling around sky rails, and that guys can come at you, shoot you down. So just like in that game, we're moving around on sky rails on the board in order to get around. So you can go ahead and push your luck and see whether or not you're going to get to one place or another. Not all movement is like that. You can also move adjacently, so you don't have to worry about always taking a risk when you're moving. But there's a lot of strategic things of moving around on the board, trying to manage your hands. Booker and Elizabeth are also in the game, but they're non-playable characters. So they're moving around from location to location, sometimes wrecking, making havoc and wrecking things up. There's an Elizabeth timeline that has lots of little story bits and things coming up that Elizabeth's doing. So we really tried to just merge everything that we could from the video game, bringing it into a board game format, and give a different perspective to it. We did not want to make the video game version the video game version into a board game. What we wanted to do is kind of just learn from the world, try to get as much theme in there as we could, and give people a different experience than they would have playing the video game.
Okay. The artwork on it is phenomenal.
Yes.
Who'd you get for the art?
Yes, we had actually a few different artists. We had John work on some of the concept art. We had a new artist, Peter, I believe, was working on it as well. You can go ahead and not quote me on that, though, because I didn't really work with him too directly, actually.
Yeah. That
so
makes sense.
we had quite a few artists actually work on it during different times because we were trying to look on making sure it was true to the style of the video game, because BioShock is a gorgeous video game. And this board game had to match. I mean, it had to be. But also what we wanted to do is we wanted to create all original art. We didn't just want to put cutscenes in there.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make the game a really beautiful collector's piece.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the City of Remnants? Which one was your first game? Was it?
City of Remnants was my first game. It was released back in March. What you're doing in City of Remnants is that you're playing as gangs that are trying to control this city called Gatorum. Now, Gatorum is this torn apart city that you've been thrown on by this overlord race called the Ugai. All right, so your gang's just trying to survive and trying to get by and take over the city. All right, so as you're taking over the city, you're trying to gain the most renown, because renown is what you need in order to win the game. Every game starts with 200 renown in order to try to get the most renown, and eventually the game ends when you're out of renown for the game. Right?
Okay.
So what you're going to be doing throughout the game is that you're going to be gaining recruits. You're going to be recruiting them into your deck. Every person's going to have a different starting deck, which represents their gang. They're going to be able to gain different recruits that all have different stats depending on which gang they go into. All right. They also have black market cards that you can go ahead and gain into your deck, which are different like weapons and computer terminals and stuff that would be illegal in this world. All right. There's also developments that are going to be building onto the city. Developments are very good at gaining you victory points, so you really want to go ahead and try to make sure that you have a good amount of developments and trying to create an interesting engine and making sure you're controlling different areas of the city. So there's lots of different mechanics going on in this game. You're trying to manage your hand correctly, you're trying to deck build, you're trying to make sure that you're using your actions correctly, because you only have 4 actions every round, and you have 6 options, and you can continuously do the same action over and over again, or you can do multiple actions. City of Remnants is my baby. It was everything that I liked about games at the time that I designed it. I had only been playing games for like 7 months when I first decided to design City of Remnants. So I was just like in love with board games at that time. So I was inspired a lot from Puerto Rico, Twilight Imperium, tons of different Dudes on a Map games. I loved board games at the time, and City of Remnants is really everything I loved about board games at the time. So.
Okay. Any ideas about the future? Any ones you're looking at possibly doing? Or?
I have 2 other games contracted with Plaid Hat Games. The next game that we will be releasing is called Survivor Chronicles Dead of Winter. What's going on in that game is that you're actually playing as survivors in the apocalypse zombie situation, of course. But we're not trying to go for the same old zombie game that you've seen every single time. You know, we're not running around killing zombies. Killing zombies is the last thing that you want to do in this game. What is interesting about this game is that you're actually working together to try to survive. Each game has a different main objective to try to get through. But everybody has their own little secret objective at the same time, too. So you're trying to make sure that, like, I need to make sure that I have enough medicine in order to survive past this point. But I also want to make sure that the crew, everybody else lives as well. So you're trying to balance that fact. How much do I help the group and how much do I help myself? And sometimes it creates turmoil in between the group. Yeah. All right. Also, there's a possibility of a betrayer. It's not in every game, but there's a possibility of somebody that's trying to completely make the survivors all fail. Yeah. So there's lots of interesting mechanics there. You're actually rolling dice at the beginning of each round, allocating those dice in order to do different effects. You can build barricades. You can go ahead and kill zombies. You can go ahead and move your characters around to different locations, search those locations for different materials that you may need. You're also going to be able to recruit more survivors as you find them out in the city. So you're not just controlling one guy, you're actually controlling the group, your own little family group, and they all have different unique abilities and how they work. So there's lots of different influence mechanics as well. Like, how much do I put out in front of my storage area to show that I'm actually an influential character in this entire colony, and using that can possibly get you enemies and friends at the same time. So there's lots of different interesting people dynamics that happen, because we really wanted to explore the fact the fun part about zombie movies is the fact that these people are interacting with each other in these terrible situations. And I feel like board games that with zombies have completely ignored that fact in the past. It's all about running around and killing these zombies with machine guns or whatever. So we really wanted to incorporate a game that made, the feeling of this is crazy. This is an interesting survival, survival theme. What do we do in that situation? The board game does a really good job of making you feel like you're involved in the zombie apocalypse. So that's coming out next. I also have another game contracted, but I can't talk about that one yet.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's a little bit further out, and I just keep working on stuff, man. I want to get as much out there as possible. I'm doing this full time, so I'm trying to make sure that I can get enough titles out there to keep money coming in, And I also want to create stuff that's very interesting and fun.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for the interview.
No problem.
I do have a slight thing I need to read here. So that's it for us tonight at Nerds Domain Podcast. You can always send us an email at nerdsdomain@gmail.com or catch us on Twitter. I am at J_Kimmett or at Nerds Domain. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdsdomain. We want to thank Josh Shop for our music. If you'd like to help us out, head over to the website, click our Amazon link. It won't cost you any more, but we'll get a slight kickback. If you enjoy our reviews, please give us a review on iTunes, and we have shirts available at tinyurl.com/indie shirts. Is there any way people can contact you?
Yeah, you can go ahead and set my Twitter handle or my email account.
So that's it for us tonight on Nerds Domain Podcast. You can always send us an email at nerdsdomain@gmail.com or catch us on Twitter. I'm at J_Kimmett or at Nerds Domain. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdsdomain. We want to thank Josh Shop for our music. If you'd like to help us out, head over to the website, click the Amazon link. It won't cost you anything extra, but we'll get a slight kickback. If you enjoy our podcast, please review us on iTunes, and we always have shirts available at tinyurl.com/indie shirts. Thanks, and we'll see you real soon.